For millions of years, the galactic keyhole drifted in silence. It did not shine. It did not move. It simply existed, hanging in deep space like a dark eye that never closed. Around it floated ancient machines, old beyond memory. They watched without rest. They listened without sound. They waited. The aliens who guarded the keyhole called themselves the Keepers. They were not one species but many. Long ago they learned that power without limits destroys everything. The keyhole could see possible futures. It could warn of wars, disasters, and extinction. It could gently push events away from danger. Because of this, the Keepers chose to hide it. They believed no young species should touch such knowledge. The Keepers ruled the area with strict rules. No ships were allowed near. No signals were answered. The machines enforced this law without mercy but without anger. To them, protection was duty, not choice. Time passed. Stars were born and died. Civilizations rose and fell. The keyhole continued to watch futures that never came true. Then one day something unexpected happened. A small human research ship entered the restricted zone by accident. The ship was called Horizon Dawn. It was old, patched, and far from any major trade route. Its crew was not looking for ancient power. They were mapping unstable space currents to make travel safer. A sudden gravity shift pulled their ship off course. Engines failed. Navigation screens went dark. Captain Daniel Moore stood on the bridge, calm but alert. He did not shout. He did not panic. He asked for reports. Emily Carter, the ship's systems analyst, worked quickly at her console. "We were pulled in," she said. "Something massive is ahead. It's not a star. Not a planet either." The crew expected destruction. Instead, their ship slowed gently as if invisible hands were holding it still. Outside the view window, the galactic keyhole appeared. It looked simple. A vast ring of dark metal, broken in places by faint blue lines. No weapons. No lights flashing. Just silence. For the first time in millions of years, the ancient machines shifted. The Keepers were alerted at once. Alarms spread through their council chambers. This was impossible. The machines were perfect. No species had ever reached the keyhole by chance. The Keepers expected fear. They expected screaming signals and desperate attempts to escape. Young species always reacted the same way. But the human ship did not run. Daniel Moore stared at the structure in silence. "We didn't plan this," he said softly. "But we're here now." Emily nodded. "It's old," she said. "Older than anything I've seen. But it's stable." Instead of panic, the humans showed wonder. They sent a single signal. It was short. It carried no threats. "We come in peace. We are explorers. We do not understand what we have found." The Keepers were confused. No demands. No weapons charged. No attempt to access the keyhole. The ancient machines scanned the ship. Humans were fragile. Short-lived. Emotion-driven. By all models they should be dangerous. Yet the ship stayed still. After long debate, the Keepers chose to reveal themselves. A projection appeared on the Horizon Dawn's bridge. Tall figures formed from light and shadow. Their voices were calm but distant. "You are in a forbidden place," the lead keeper said. "You must leave." Daniel did not argue. He did not bow either. "Our engines are damaged," he replied. "We will leave when we can. Until then we will not interfere." This response caused another pause among the keepers. Most species begged. Some threatened. Others tried to lie. Humans simply explained. Emily looked at the projection carefully. "That structure," she said, pointing gently, "it matters. We can tell." The keepers felt unease. The keyhole shifted slightly as if listening. "You do not understand it," the keeper said. "We know," Daniel answered. "That's why we're not touching it." Silence followed. The keepers reviewed thousands of futures. In many, humans were violent. In many others they failed and vanished. But some futures showed something new. Humans choosing restraint. Humans stepping back when they could step forward. The keyhole itself reacted. Its predictions blurred. Human behavior did not follow clear lines. This had never happened before. The keepers allowed limited communication. They watched closely as humans repaired their ship. The crew shared food. They joked softly. They argued, then listened to each other. No orders from above. No rigid command chains. Emily recorded readings but refused to probe deeper. "Not without permission," she said. Daniel agreed. "Some things aren't ours to take." The ancient machines observed this decision. The first meeting between humans and the keepers ended without weapons fired, without fear taking control. Only questions remained. As the Horizon Dawn prepared to leave, the keyhole pulsed once, faint and unreadable. For the first time in its long existence, the galactic keyhole had met a species it could not fully predict. And somewhere in the deep silence of space, the future shifted. The decision shocked the ancient alliance. After long debate, the keepers allowed humans limited access to the galactic keyhole. The rules were strict. No direct control. No deep commands. No attempts to change the future. Humans could only observe, measure, and ask. Every action would be watched by ancient machines that never slept. A small human station was built at a careful distance from the keyhole. It was simple, made for study, not power. Only a few humans were allowed inside. Engineer David Miller arrived first. He was quiet, practical, and careful with his words. He treated the keyhole like a sleeping giant that should not be woken. Scientist Emma Collins joined him soon after. She was curious but patient. She believed good questions were more important than fast answers. From the beginning, the aliens expected trouble. Other species that had once been allowed near dangerous relics always followed the same path. They pushed limits. They searched for advantage. They tried to control outcomes. Humans did not. David spent his first days checking systems again and again. If something fails, he said, we stop. Emma agreed without debate. That alone confused the keepers. Humans argued often, but when it mattered, they listened. The keyhole floated outside the station window. It looked unchanged, but the machines sensed activity inside it. The keyhole was watching the humans as closely as they watched it. Emma studied the data streams. The keyhole shows future paths, she said one day. But when humans are involved, the paths split too much. David frowned. Too much how? Too many choices, she replied. Most species follow patterns. Humans don't. We change our minds. We trust. We doubt. We act against our own gain sometimes. The keepers dismissed this at first. Their records showed every species followed rules, even if they didn't know it. Then the predictions failed. A simple test was run. The keyhole showed 3 possible outcomes for a small human decision: repair a sensor now, later, or never. The keyhole calculated the most likely path. David chose a 4th option. He asked another engineer for help, waited, and repaired it together. The results saved time and reduced risk. The keyhole had not seen that choice. The ancient machines paused for a fraction of a second. Emma noticed strange feedback from the keyhole. It's adjusting, she said softly. Like it's trying to understand us. The aliens grew uneasy. Their power rested on prediction and control. The keyhole was the core of that system. If it could not predict humans, then humans were dangerous in a new way. The keepers issued warnings. Follow the suggested paths, they said. Deviations increase risk. Emma read the message carefully. They're afraid, she said to David. Of us? He asked. Of uncertainty, she replied. Humans continued their work, slower now, more careful. They did not obey blindly, but they did not rebel either. When the keyhole suggested an action, they discussed it. Sometimes they followed it. Sometimes they did not. Each time they chose differently, the keyhole reacted. Its light shifted. Its internal patterns grew more complex. Futures tangled instead of forming clean lines. The machine struggled to keep up. Alien observers watched humans ask questions the keyhole never asked itself. Not what will happen, but what should we do, and who could this hurt? One day Emma stopped a test early. The data says continue, David said. I know, she answered. But it feels wrong. We don't understand enough yet. That moment echoed through the keyhole. The future paths collapsed and rebuilt. The keyhole recorded something new, restraint chosen without force. The keepers argued fiercely. Some demanded humans be removed at once. Others warned that sudden action could cause worse outcomes. The keyhole could not clearly predict the result of removing humans either. This terrified them. David noticed the change before the alien spoke again. The system is unstable, he said. Not breaking but changing. Emma looked at the keyhole through the glass. It's learning, she said. Or trying to. The aliens sent a final warning. You must reduce interaction. The keyhole is not meant to adapt. Emma replied calmly. Neither were we. Silence followed. The keyhole pulsed once, slow and deep. Not a warning. Not a threat. A response. For the first time in its ancient existence, the galactic keyhole was no longer just watching the future. It was reacting to choice. The changes were small at first. A trade route shifted by a few minutes. A border patrol arrived late and found no conflict waiting. A minor war that the keyhole had warned about did not happen. At first, the keepers believed these were errors. The keyhole had always been precise. One failure could be explained. Several could not. Across the galaxy, prediction reports began to change. The future paths grew less clear. Probabilities that once stood firm began to soften and split. The ancient alliance grew uneasy. All of these changes traced back to one place: the human station near the galactic keyhole. More humans were allowed to assist, but always under watch. Among them was pilot James Walker. He was assigned to move supply ships and adjust station position during unstable space shifts. He followed rules, but he trusted people more than systems. Laura Bennett joined as an analyst. She studied risk not through numbers alone but through human behavior. She listened more than she spoke. She believed problems were best solved together. One day, a gravity wave struck the station without warning. The keyhole had predicted a low chance of danger. The machines delayed response, trusting the model. James saw the shift early through his cockpit window. "That's not right," he said calmly. Laura checked the data. "The system says wait," she replied. Then she paused. "But James is right. It feels wrong." No command came from the aliens. No instruction followed. James acted. He moved the supply ship into position, using manual controls. Laura adjusted power flow and rerouted systems, not by protocol but by shared understanding. They spoke in short, clear words. No one argued. Everyone listened. The station stabilized. When the machines reviewed the event, they found the keyhole had not predicted the human response. It had calculated only delay and failure. Alien observers gathered again. "They do not obey," one said. "They do not dominate either," another replied. The keepers studied hours of recordings. Humans talked through problems. They changed plans mid-action. They trusted individuals instead of fixed roles. Authority shifted naturally based on need, not rank. This behavior confused the keyhole. It had been built to see outcomes, not relationships. Control was simple. Choice was not. Laura noticed a pattern in the data. "When we work together freely," she said, "the predictions break down more." David and Emma reviewed her findings. The aliens listened in silence. James added, "We're not trying to beat the system. We're just doing what makes sense at the time." That answer unsettled the keepers more than any threat could. Across the galaxy, more futures collapsed. The keyhole showed increasing uncertainty around human influence. Events involving humans became blurred zones where probability lost meaning. Some alien leaders called humans a danger. If they cannot be predicted, one argued, they cannot be controlled. Others disagreed. "They do not seek control," another said. "They accept risk." This idea was new and frightening. The keyhole began to change again. Its internal patterns grew less rigid. Instead of one strong future, it showed many weaker ones. Instead of pushing events, it observed them longer. Laura stood watching it one day. "It's slowing down," she said. "Or listening," James replied. The ancient machines recorded a new truth. Humans did not fight the keyhole. They did not command it. They worked around it, with it, and sometimes without it. Adaptation, not domination. For the first time, the keepers wondered if guarding the keyhole had never been enough. Perhaps understanding choice mattered more than controlling fate. The council chamber was silent when the decision was spoken. The galactic keyhole must be sealed. The words carried weight. The keepers had not sealed the keyhole since the earliest age. It was a last answer used only when the future became too dangerous to watch. Human representatives listened without interruption. Emma Collins stood calmly, her hands folded. She did not argue at once. She had learned that rushing only closed minds. "The keyhole is unstable," the lead keeper continued. "Its predictions fail. Entire regions of the galaxy are affected. This began with human contact." Emma nodded slowly. "We see the changes too," she said. "But sealing it now may cause more harm than waiting." This answer unsettled the council. Most species obeyed warnings without delay. Humans did not. They paused. They considered. They chose. The keepers gave a short time limit. Human access would end soon. The keyhole would be shut down fully, its systems locked into permanent silence. Before that could happen, something went wrong. A surge passed through the keyhole without warning. The ancient machines reacted too slowly. Energy built up inside the structure, twisting future paths into sharp, unstable lines. Alarms filled the human station. Engineer Michael Reed ran toward the control deck. He was practical, direct, and steady under pressure. "We're getting feedback loops," he said. "If we don't act, the keyhole could collapse inward." The alien system suggested immediate shutdown. Michael shook his head. "Too fast," he said. "That could tear it apart." Emma arrived seconds later. She scanned the data. The keyhole isn't breaking, she said. It's resisting. Resisting what? Michael asked. Being forced, she replied. The keepers ordered immediate compliance. Emma took a breath. We need time, she said. Not to use it. To stabilize it. The silence that followed was heavy. Then something unexpected happened. The keyhole slowed its pulse. Not by command. Not by machine order. It responded to hesitation. Michael adjusted systems carefully, reducing pressure instead of cutting power. He worked with the keyhole's rhythm, not against it. Every movement was small. Every choice was discussed aloud. I can push more power, he said once. Emma shook her head. No. Let it settle. The surge faded. The station survived. The keyhole remained intact. Alien observers replayed the event again and again. Their systems showed a clear result. If humans had followed the fastest solution, the keyhole would have suffered permanent damage. Restraint had saved it. The council reconvened. Emma spoke this time without waiting. You believe control keeps the galaxy safe, she said. But control breaks when choice appears. Humans don't remove risk. We live with it. You are unpredictable, the lead keeper said. Yes, Emma replied. And so is life. Michael stood beside her, quiet but firm. We didn't save the keyhole by taking power, he said. We saved it by stepping back. The keyhole pulsed softly, steady now. Inside its ancient core, records changed. For the first time, a species was marked not as a threat, not as an ally, but as an unknown variable. Not because of strength, because of choice. The council delayed the sealing. Not out of trust, out of uncertainty. And in that pause, the galaxy held its breath. The final decision did not come with anger or fear. It came quietly. After long observation, the Alien Council chose to seal the galactic keyhole. Not as punishment, not as retreat, but as acceptance. The future had grown too complex, too full of choice, to be guided by a single ancient system. Humans were invited to assist. This surprised many keepers. In all of recorded history, no young species had been trusted in such a moment. Yet the records were clear. Humans did not rush for power. They stepped back when stepping forward was easier. The station near the keyhole began shutdown procedures. Supplies were packed. Systems were powered down. There was no panic. No celebration. Only care. David Miller worked quietly at his console, checking each sequence twice. The sealing process was slow and careful. The keyhole could not be forced into silence. It had to be guided layer by layer into rest. Emma Collins stood nearby, watching the data streams fade. It's not ending, she said softly. It's sleeping. David nodded. Some things are meant to wait. The ancient machines moved into new positions. Their patterns shifted from watchful to protective. The keepers did not give commands this time. They observed and learned. When the final phase began, the keyhole reacted once more. Its surface glowed faintly, showing fragments of futures that would never be. Wars avoided. Discoveries delayed. Choices left open. No one reached for control. David's hand hovered over the final sequence. Last check, he said. Emma looked at the structure through the wide window. We've seen enough, she replied. The seal engaged. The keyhole dimmed, not in defeat but in calm. The future paths inside it softened and then disappeared from view. The ancient system recorded its final entry. Humanity, turning point species. Not dominant. Not obedient. Defined by choice. The station was abandoned soon after. Ships departed in silence, leaving only the ancient machines and the sealed structure behind. As his ship pulled away, David stood at the rear window. He did not feel pride. He felt responsibility. The keyhole remained, quiet and unreadable, waiting for a future it could no longer predict. Across the galaxy, life continued. Civilizations made their own decisions without guidance from an unseen eye. The galaxy felt less safe but more alive. Some doors, humanity had learned, were open not to claim what lay beyond, but to understand when it was time to close them.